Hey class, I'd like to do a quick review of the stress material that we covered last class period. So some of the important information, you were supposed to go over this on your own if we didn't have time in class. Make sure you know what these definitions are. Stress is the response of your body and mind when it's being threatened or challenged. Remember, everybody experiences stress. The difference is how we respond to it. Eustress is positive stress, like studying hard, practicing, and then seeing some positive results. Distress is negative stress, like forgetting what you studied, or being overwhelmed with school, or of course things like the death of a loved one. Having a good amount of stress in your life is actually a good thing. A little bit of stress. It can help encourage you and motivate you to get things done. In fact, if you recall from the stress test last time, if you looked at the results carefully, it's said that if you got a very low score, you might consider getting a little more involved and having a few more challenges in your life. All right, you need to know what a stressor is. So a stressor would be any of those things that cause stress. An event, a situation, a person, a behavior of somebody. The 4 general types of stressors are listed here. Major life changes like births, deaths, marriage, divorce, moving, starting a new job, ending a job. Catastrophes would be things like a pandemic, a wildfire, a car crash. So usually this involves injury and threats to people's lives. And then everyday problems like schoolwork, traffic, minor problems with the weather, time management. And then environmental problems would be things in your surroundings, which could also be people in your surroundings that create stress for you. So it could be, maybe going to a job that you just hate every day. The people that you're around every day are really negative. That would be your social environment. Or it could be maybe physical environment. This was the example I shared in class. Perhaps a person lives near a very busy intersection, and so they're always hearing traffic noises, screeching tires, that kind of thing. All right, you need to be aware of the 3 stages of stress. So in the beginning, we go through the alarm stage, and this is when we release adrenaline and we go through that fight or flight stage. And in the slideshow, you should have looked at all the different changes that happen in the body. Things like increased heart rate and reduced blood flow to the skin, and those are all protective features. The resistance stage is next, and this is where we're kind of starting to get used to it, I guess. And then the exhaustion stage is the 3rd stage. Sometimes a stressor continues for months or years, and it can really start to take a toll on our body. If it's a huge stressful event, you could bypass the first 2 stages and go right to this exhaustion stage where your body, your mind, you are literally exhausted. 5 common symptoms of stress are stomach aches, asthma, headaches, lowered resistance to disease, and heart disease. Now, I also want you to know there's other things that can cause these. So just because you have a headache, that doesn't mean it's caused by stress, right? You could have a headache because somebody in your house sprayed some perfume that's getting to you, or you could have a stomach ache because you have food poisoning. Right, but these are real common symptoms of stress. Number 4, lowered resistance to disease. That's really important. If you're not managing stress, your immune system is actually weaker, which makes it easier for you to get things like a cold or flu. And then number 5, heart disease. This is usually the result of a prolonged stress. So maybe a person has been working for years in a job that is very stressful and makes them unhappy, or a relationship that they've been in a long time. They've been in this relationship for a long time and it's causing a lot of stress. That's when we would probably see heart disease. All right, you need to know the difference between optimism, optimism and pessimism. Optimism is the tendency to focus on the positive side of a situation, whereas pessimism people tend to focus on the negative aspects of a situation. When it comes to stress, the pessimists tend to see more negative effects in their body, in their mind from stress because they're focusing on the negative. Resilience is a wonderful trait I would want you all to have. It's the ability to recover or bounce back when you are faced with an extreme or prolonged stress. And the reason why this is so important is because you don't get to decide when an extreme or prolonged stress happens. Today, you could leave school and, be in an accident and are suddenly faced with paralysis, right? The characteristics of somebody with resilience are listed below. And the reason why I think this is so important is because when you have this resiliency trait and you are faced with an extreme or prolonged stress, you are better able to handle it and you probably have a better outlook. So, some of the characteristics we see with people who are resilient are they know their strengths and they have confidence in their abilities, what they can do. They make realistic plans and take steps to carry out those plans. They have good communication skills and good problem solving skills. They can recognize and control their feelings. They recognize that change is a normal part of life, and they can put life's changes in perspective. Like right now with this pandemic, somebody with resilience probably understands that this is not going to be forever. This is just how life is right now. So they can keep that in perspective. And that's just one example. All right, make sure that you have some good stress management strategies in place. So a few were covered in the slideshow. Bottom line is find something that does work for you. These are a few activities or a few strategies. Number one, mental rehearsal. You do need to know what this means. So mental rehearsal is when you practice being successful at an event, usually a stressful event, in your mind prior to it taking place. So maybe it's a big speech you have to give, a performance, a game. In your head, visualize yourself doing that event well. You remember all your lines or you make a great play. Do that several times over and over before that event takes place. Physical activities next. So that could be, going outside, going for a walk, doing something active to release some tension. Relaxation activities are listed next. This is so many different things. This could be something like progressive muscle relaxation or deep breathing or meditation. It's not sleeping. Sleeping is sleeping, right? When you're sleeping, you're not working on managing stress. So relaxation activities, you're actually focused on relieving the stress. Biofeedback is next, and this is where a person learns to recognize what's going on in the body and then respond. Avoid negative thinking is next. Negative thinking usually just causes all sorts of other problems. Humor, try to find humor in your situation, and practice good time management. One of the things that causes a lot of stress is when people are behind, getting ready for school, getting to school on time, overwhelmed with schoolwork. So having a routine and having some good time management strategies can really help to reduce stress. All right, and I wanted to let you know, you guys did a great job overall on the positive thinking assignment where I gave you some situations and you had to rewrite them or turn them into positive statements. You guys did awesome on that one. But when it came to iMessages, things didn't look so good. So although this wasn't directly related to stress, this was one of the assignments from last week. And a lot of students really struggled writing good iMessages. You might have said, I feel angry when you do this, or I feel angry because you're always late. And you didn't follow through with all of the steps. So remember all the steps there. Either I feel when, because, I want or need, or the other format you could use was when I feel, because, would you please? So rewording an emotional statement using one of these iMessage formats is a great way to communicate your feelings without creating blame, without making the situation worse. So I want to encourage you to practice working on your iMessages. And that is it for today's review.